Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind Podcast, a podcast for estate professionals who earn more, work less, and make a huge difference in their communities. If you get value out of this free content, be sure to check out ProbateMastery.com, where you can get live classes, access to weekly coaching, and valuable courses. To learn more, visit ProbateMastery.com. Now let's jump into this week's content. Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind. This is our weekly mastermind and podcast. I recognize the overwhelming majority of you, so you know the spiel. If you're new here, we do this every week on Tuesday, with the exception of the last 2 weeks. So I hope everyone had great holiday season. Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, whatever you were celebrating. I hope it was really good, and I expect that some of you closed your years out really well in your business, and that you're off to the races and setting up a strong plan for 2025. If you don't know, we're here to answer any probate questions that you might have, business building questions that you might have. If you want to know about getting certified, please ask those questions. If you're in the middle of a deal, I want to hear from you guys. So this is an interactive session that we do every week. Just go down to the bottom of your screen and click the React button and raise your hand, so that I know to call on you and take those questions. We're here to help you kind of grow your business. What I'd like to start, just kind of to drop this kernel into the group and have you guys thinking about that, is how many of you have set up your goals for 2025? I'm very interested to hear what some of those goals are, and more importantly, what your action steps are going to be to accomplish your goals. So who show of hands has a goal and action steps for this coming year already set up? You know exactly how you're going to achieve your goal. What do you guys have for me? So Douglas does. Good. Anybody else? All right. I've been kind of Melanie does. What's yours going to look like, Melanie?
So I'm kind of taking a different approach this year. You know that I do a lot of YouTube type marketing, and I kind of focus on the senior real estate stuff. And I go to a lot of these senior events where I get to meet estate planning attorneys and people that put heads in beds and things like that. But I decided in early December, late November, that I would try something different this year. So what I'm doing is direct mail marketing, and that is working tremendously.
Okay.
So I'm putting my systems in place. And I did an accelerator program with the Highs, Josh and Tiffany High, to get those systems in place, because I didn't have them. Really didn't have my systems. So that's what I'm really working on, is getting, follow up, maybe get an acquisition partner, a transaction coordinator, that kind of thing. So I'm going to see how it rolls out, but the steps are there, and the goal is to try to get transaction coordinator first, and then move to maybe a partner to work with me. So a lot of moving pieces. Yeah.
So when you talk about direct mail system, this is direct mail into a probate audience, an estate audience, a senior audience. Who's getting your mail?
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's a really kind of a wild funnel that they're doing. All of those, what you just said, but we're also including maybe some code violations, vacant homes and things like that, which all do kind of pop up under probate. So I've been getting a lot of really great calls of people calling irate and things like that, but they're like, take me off your list or whatever. I'm like, well, what is going on? And they're like, well, what do you do? And I've had some fantastic conversations with people, because I'm a nurse as well. And I'm like, well, what's going on? Does your husband need help? Does he need placement? So it's been really interesting to have those conversations. And my whole thing to everybody is with doing the calls is, they can't see you. They don't know who you are or what, but once the doors open and they start talking to you, you don't know where that's going to lead.
Right.
So It's been very interesting. So I'm going to try this I committed to like 90 to possibly 180 days just to see what happens. But, I've seen some great homes. I'm going to see another foreclosure on Thursday. I've got a gal that's calling me here about 3:15. So things are kind of happening finally.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad.
excited.
I'm really excited to hear that direct mail is working.
Yeah.
I want to be really crystal clear to, we've got a big audience here. Okay. I want to be
Mm.
very crystal clear to the people in the audience. Some of you have tried direct mail and it has worked. Some of you have tried direct mail. It has not worked. Melanie is now getting some traction with direct mail. I want to be clear with the majority of you. If you're in a big metro area, you've got to try, and you want to do direct mail, you've got to try different things. Big metro areas don't necessarily, it's not a cut and dried, here, copy and paste this, and it's going to work for you. Generally speaking, a phone dialogue is going to go a lot further to get most people business than direct mail. However, I am also a fan of direct mail. You have to be willing to make adjustments to your length of your mail campaign, to the frequency of your mail campaign, the messaging, a lot of different things in that. And if you just don't have the budget to be able to make those adjustments, to be able to put something out that just falls flat on its face without going under, don't do direct mail. Okay, if you've got the budget to do some trial and error and some adjustment, it can be an amazing thing for your business. And Melanie's getting a lot of traction now. It's great to hear.
Yeah, it takes time and don't give up. That's my thing. And just try to, just try to do as many different things as you can with that.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily have to be probate. One of the persons that I ended up calling, or actually called me, said, my husband died 9 years ago. So, now she's going to foreclosure. So you just don't know what you're going to get. Do you
Yep.
want me to say who I'm utilizing or?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, so I'm using REI Print, and the reason I chose to go with them, they're based in Missouri, is because they use AI and they can really target so that you're not wasting your dollars with just throwing the cards out there.
Yeah,
And they've got great coaches.
good, perfect.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right,
Thanks. Happy New Year.
mostly letters, or are there some postcards?
So right now, if I could remember my things. This is the size. It's, I don't know if you can see it, but it's
Yeah,
maybe like a
your
3x5 or
there we
something
go.
like that. Small, but it basically says, sorry, I missed you.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to reach you about buying your home. I can pay you X amount of dollars. And I have a lot of people calling me saying, what? You can really pay me that. And then we have a conversation. So this would be the first one. The second one looks like an envelope that you would open with a check to pay
Mhm.
somebody.
Yep.
And then it
Okay.
goes from there.
All right.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Thank you. And happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year. Let's
Let's get
see
it.
what's going on with my volume here. Everybody, is my volume low for everybody else? Thanks for pointing that out. How's everybody else? You guys struggling to hear me?
You sound good to me. I jacked my volume up so you're blasting through the entire room.
Okay, good. Man, put me into like a concert speaker set. All right. Oh, Melanie, so we started this off by goals. What are your goals for the year?
Well, I would like to do 2 deals a month.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to roll my, first 90 days out and do that. And the way it's going, it looks like that might be achievable. So
Good.
2 deals per month is a goal, and then acquiring team members as I move forward.
Okay. Outstanding. All
Yeah.
right. So this kind of takes me to some basics of goal setting. We're not going to go into an amazing amount of detail because I've got a bunch of people that are in group coaching that are kind of breaking this apart for themselves. But I want to give you guys a really good overview. Setting a goal is very important. We always have to start with a goal. But just putting a goal out there, 2 deals a month, 24 deals a year, 100 deals a year, whatever it is. And I've been guilty of this many, many times. Setting a goal is like putting a flag on the opposite side of the Grand Canyon from where you stand, and then start walking toward that flag. And if you're not looking down at the path, you're going to walk into a hole. So setting a goal is the most important thing that you can start with, but more important than that, once you've set the goal, you need to create a path. You need to work the numbers backwards, whether it's financial or time, and create a path that's going to lead you to the goal. And at that point, you follow the path. You no longer have to look at the goal. And that's very important that I want you doing. It's really easy to just say, hey, I'm going to do 24 deals this year. Hey, I'm going to do 100 deals this year, 36. I'm going to do 10. It's very easy to throw that out there. But if you don't have a plan that's going to get you there, you're not going to achieve the goal unless you're lucky. Unless you're lucky. So, one of the things that I like to do is start with a goal and then set myself a per acquisition budget. So per acquisition budget, I've got a rule of thumb that if I can make a 10 times return on investment on any given lead source, probate, for sale by owner, realtor.com, foreclosures, whatever it is, if I'm not going to get a 10 times return on investment conservatively, I generally don't pursue that niche. Generally. Okay. Why? Because if I miss my mark badly and I only get a 5 times ROI, I'm still okay. If I go into a lead source with a plan to get a 4 times ROI or a 5 times ROI and I fail, I lose money potentially. Okay. It's hard for me to lose money if I have a plan to get a 10 times ROI. So I like to conservatively plan on a 10 times ROI. At that point, I look at the money that I'm going to spend to generate a deal, and I break it down across all my leads. So I'm just going to do some really simple math for you guys. I make about $10,000 per transaction when I do a transaction. I want a 10 times ROI. That means I can spend $1,000 for every client that I get signed up. So $1,000 to get them signed up. If I get a 10% conversion rate on my leads, I can spend $100 per lead. So this is super simple. It needs to be a little bit more nuanced and detailed for you guys than this, but I can spend $100 per lead. Now I get to go and look at my lead and say, hey, if I've got $100 to spend per lead at a 10% conversion rate to make $10,000 for every thousand I spend, how am I going to spend that $100 per lead? Going to spend $10 on getting each lead in my list. I'm going to spend $10 in mail. I might spend $10 on somebody doing dials for me. I might spend $10 on a warm mail campaign. I might do some retargeting through Google or social media. I can create my budget plan for my leads that way. You also want to plan on your time. So it's really nice to be able to say, hey, I'm going to get 10% of my leads to do business with me, which, by the way, in probate, that's pretty aggressive. I don't want anyone planning on a 10% conversion rate. Are there people that are doing a 10% conversion rate? Yes. This is just for the easy math, guys. There are people doing a 10% conversion rate. I just don't want you putting a plan together like that might be unrealistic. When you set your goals, your financial path and your time path, I want it to be something that always exceeds the goal that you have. So don't put something out there that maybe is achievable but fall short. I would rather you create a plan and set the path and then far exceed that path. So that's all to say that I don't think 10% is the plan that you guys need to put in place. You might plan for 1 or a 2% conversion rate. And then if you do all the right things and you exceed your expectations and you get a 10%, now all of a sudden every $1,000 you spend, you make 40, right? So I plan on spending about $1,000 per client acquisition in my business. And I want you guys to really sort of look at your business with this type of nuance is what is available to spend from a financial resource per deal that you sign, and then break it down across each one of your leads. How much are you going to be able to spend per lead to move a certain percentage of them into a deal? And then time. What kind of time are you going to invest? So I'd like you guys to work these numbers backwards in your business and understand how much time you're going to spend prospecting, how many marketing pieces you're going to send out per week, um, how many leads you need to add to your pipeline. This is really, really important. It's very fun to look at the closings goal. The closings goal. I focus more on my pipeline goal than any closings. I focus way more on my pipeline. So, what is someone in my pipeline? Someone in my pipeline is a person that indicates to me that they're going to sell property. All right. I want to go back and give you guys a totally different kind of lead source that I used to work. And I would work again one day if I push heavily into production. And this is open houses. All right. We're here to talk probate. I'm just using this as an example so that you can learn how to read between the lines. All right. Open houses. You're an agent. You're a buyer's agent. You're sitting in an open house and a consumer walks in the door. What's one of the first things that you ask them? Somebody tell me. One of the first things you ask a consumer that walks into your open house. Any guesses? Do you have an
Do you
agent?
have an agent?
You have an agent. Yes. All right. And 9 out of 10 say what?
Absolutely
Yes.
not.
Everybody shake your head. So Matthew, they absolutely not. I think 9 out of 10 say yes, I have an agent. Why? In a lot of cases, you made it very easy for them to lie. Very easy. Now, maybe they really do have an agent, but they're just not signed with that agent. They might have a friend. I mean, we all know most consumers know a bunch of agents. If you're an investor, just hang with me. We're going to tie it to probate here in a second. Um, so I quit asking buyers in my open houses if they had an agent, not because I want to snipe them from the agent that they're working with, not because I'm playing unethical. I just didn't want to give them an opportunity to lie to me. So what I started looking for was the answer that they would give me without knowing that they were giving me an answer. So I'd let them walk through the house, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and I'd walk up and I'd chit chat for a brief second. And then I'd go, hey, how does this house compare to the others that you've been out looking at? And all those people that used to tell me, yeah, I have an agent, would say, oh, this is the first house we've been to. What's that tell me? They probably aren't signed with an agent. So I immediately opened the door to way more relationships by um, getting them to give me the answer without knowing that they were giving me the answer. So probate prospecting, circle prospecting, foreclosure prospecting, all these are the exact same. You need to figure out how to get people to give you the answer that you need without them knowing that they're giving you the answer, especially if you're cold prospecting. If you guys are cold calling someone, what's the first thing they want to do when they realize they're on a cold call and they've got someone that they think is trying to sell them something? They want to
Yes.
move you off of the phone. They want to
Yeah.
resist you. So if you come out and say, "Hey, are you going to sell a house or are you going to keep a house?" They're going to say, "No, we're going to keep the house," most of the time. And then you are going to look on the MLS in 3 months and be like, "That liar." That liar. They were just resisting you. So I don't want to give them an opportunity to resist me. What I'm doing is I'm looking for the answers that I know mean a sale is coming. And one of the things that I know means a sale is coming when I'm on the phone or I'm interacting with someone that has been a stranger to me is it too early to tell what you're going to do with the house yet? Is it too early to tell? The overwhelming majority of people that used to tell me that now tell me that because I bait them into saying it. The overwhelming majority of them are going to sell property. So I try to actually encourage people to tell me that they don't know yet. I encourage it. Why? Because that tells me who's going to sell in the future. That's my pipeline. So in my business, yes, I set the closings goal and the money goal, but then I work things backward to what percentage of my pipeline is actually going to do business with me. And now that I know that, I can say, okay, my goal for the week is to get X number of people into my pipeline. Which, by the way, my goal for a week is to get 10 people into my pipeline. That's it. They don't have to say, yes, I'm selling a house. I'm going to sign with you, Bruce. All they have to have said is, hey, it's too early. We don't know what we're going to do with the house yet. That's 100% a pipeline lead for me. If I can get 10 a week, I'll get 10 to 20% of those to eventually do a deal with me. So I want you guys, those of you that are a little bit hyper focused on what the big end goal is going to be from a money or a closing standpoint, whether it's for your whole business or probate alone, stop hyper focusing on that big goal and work it back to how many people do you need to add to your pipeline on a weekly or a monthly basis? Okay. And what's your plan with your pipeline? And if you're going to add 10 people to your pipeline or 20 people to your pipeline or whatever that goal is, what kind of um, what kind of investment are you going to put in to fill that pipeline? And from that point forward, you really don't have to look at the big goal anymore. The next time you look at the big goal, you might be on a quarterly review or a semi-annual review. I want you to not have to focus on the goal. I need you to focus on the activity. And when I talk about the investment to fill your pipeline, it doesn't have to be financial. So I just talked to you guys how I've got $1,000 investment per deal that I close. So mine's financial. Some of you, it might just be time. You might say, hey, for every person I put in my pipeline or for every hour I spend on the phone, I want to identify one person for my pipeline. So it could be a time investment as well. But I just want you guys working your goals backward until you know what to do from a time or financial investment standpoint on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. I think it's very important that you do that. I've known way too many people that set yearly money or transaction goals and never got there. And it's always because they didn't know what kind of weekly activities or commitment they needed. You guys break it down to the week and you'll hit your goals. So thanks for sticking with me for a lightning fast commercial break. I want to tell you in this little break in between sessions why you might want to consider getting Probate Mastery or joining a coaching program to advance your real estate business. If you're an investor or an agent and you want the estate niche, the probate niche, ultimately, let's go umbrella level, the inherited property space to be a big part of your business where you're getting 1, 2, 10, 20 transactions a month. By the way, I'm coaching people right now who are doing over $1 million a year in net revenue, over $1 million a year. I've got people that are doing way more than that. If you want that to be a part of your business and you want a consistent flow of transactions in your business, I want you to sign up for Probate Mastery or Mastery Academy, our 16-week coaching program. So about Probate Mastery, it's our certification course. If you take the 16-week Mastery Academy coaching program, you get Probate Mastery included. If you want to take the certification course on its own, figure out if you like the training style, you want to get certified, think about coaching at some point in the future, no problem whatsoever. But I do want you guys taking the next step and getting into Probate Mastery. You can do it now for one price of $500, or you can even chop it into 3 different payments. If on the flip side, you want the coaching, you want the 16-week coaching program, you get Probate Mastery, you get Earn Attorney Referrals Now, which is another powerful high-value course, and you get a Prospecting Mastery course that I teach over 3 sessions that goes deep into exactly what to say and how to say it to get people using you. If you want those as a part of that 16-week coaching program, we've even got a way that you can pay for the program when you sell transactions. That's what a lot of people do, is they get into coaching and they say, hey, look, I don't know if this is going to be right for me. Let me see if I'm going to do deals as part of your coaching. So if you want to know a little bit more, there should be a discovery call button below, or you could pop right out of this and go over to probatemastery.com and sign up and get certified. I'll see you guys inside. Thanks a bunch. So let's go. That's my monologue. I'm going to go to Oliver real quick. Oliver, go for it.
Bruce. I don't want to sidebar the conversation, but it's basically, my first month of calling leads.
Mm-hmm.
So a little discouraging. I haven't set an appointment yet, and I'm just trying to stay motivated and stay focused. There's definitely a steep learning curve with these calls, but at the same time, I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from the calls. A lot of people I speak with, they're like, They didn't know that service was available. And they said, that's amazing that you would do something like that in our community. And I had several encouraging calls, not that they needed my help because maybe they were in a small estates or no real estate involved, but they were at the same time recognized the value that I was trying to bring. So that was encouraging. It's just setting my own expectations of how long this is going to take to start setting appointments.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, I'm gonna set your expectation as though, and I already know that you're a seasoned prospector. Okay. I already know that, but there's still a little bit of a learning curve to the probate side of it.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna work on your expectation as though you're not seasoned and you don't know anything about prospecting. Okay. And then encourage you that as your skill level increases, um, this expectation is going to be easily met. Um, so in the beginning, I'm usually not looking for appointments for 4 or 5 months. If
Okay.
I'm very new, I'm not looking for appointments. Why? The people that move fast are hard to get. You haven't had a chance to separate yourself yet. We already know that most consumers, especially if they're local, know 4 or 5 or 6 agents already, or their family member does, or they're referred by an attorney or something like that. So those early movers in probate, which is 15, 20%, 10%, I don't know, every list is different, have to sell a house and they sell right now. In probate, I'm not looking to do business with many of them. I've got too many other agents ahead of me that they already have a relationship that I have to leapfrog, and I'm probably not going to do that. My game is built to leapfrog those agents that are ahead of me by the third or the fourth month. Okay. So if I get the quick movers, great. It's just a bonus. My plan is built around those people that are going to take 6 months before they make a selling decision.
Right.
Now, with that said, as you continue to add to your technique on the phone with probate, I want you to start focusing on walking people through a process where you basically bait them into letting you come for a property preview. Okay. And by bait, everything for me is I've got my big goal. And the same thing, we were just talking about financial goals. The same principles apply to a conversation goal as well. I have my big goal. If I called you and you don't know me and I said, "Hey, can I come out and give you a listing presentation on your house?" No way, man. No. Leave me alone. Okay?
Yeah.
But if I can figure out what needs to have come before you allow me to come pitch to you, I can get you to agree to that. And if I can figure out what comes before that, I can get you to agree to that. So for me, I've got around 7 different steps in a process that lead to an appointment. And I'm worried about just hitting the next step. If I can get to that next step, I know I can get to the step after that. I know I can get to the step after that. I'll give you an example. Okay. So I call you. You don't know me. I have a concierge service. I help families going through probate. All right. You don't know me. Even if you need the concierge service, you're not going to take it. Okay. You're probably going to give me some kind of an objection,
Yeah.
most likely. All right. So I just set you up to give me the one that I'm the most comfortable handling. You're going to give me an objection anyway. So why not say, "Hey, do you have everything handled, or is there anything I can do for you?" I have everything handled. Great. I'm glad to hear that. Listen, I tell you what, if at any point in the process something comes up you need help with, I want you to call me. As a matter of fact, let me send you some resources. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I just moved you to the next step. I'll send you some resources. Yes. Next step. What's the best email? Here's
Okay.
my email. Okay. Next step. Hey, listen, before I jump off, I know it's going to be a while before you guys decide this. Is the property something that you all are going to sell, or is it just way too early to tell? It's too early to tell. That's the next step. So I've set you up to tell me it's too early to tell. What do I know? What do I know at this point in the call?
That there's property.
That there's property and it's probably going to sell.
Right.
Because if they weren't going to sell it, they would have just told me right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yep. And this is where I get a little stuck, but so I learned very early on, we don't talk real estate. I don't talk, I'm a realtor. I don't even mention the word house, the real estate, nothing. It's more of identify what's your biggest challenges, what services we offer, and just hearing them out on things. I do get around finally to, when they say, yes, I have an attorney and they're taking care of everything. I said, that's great. In my experience, here's some things the attorney does not take care of.
Mm-hmm.
And I let them know from a value standpoint of if there's, I asked them, I said, is there, is there real estate involved in the probate? Yes. Okay. Most of the time, people do not have a proper insurance set up. They don't have proper vacancy or no trespassing sign set up. And I start walking them through just the problems that, how we can help secure the asset. And I just try to make the appointment. Can I go over and meet somebody there at the house so we can properly secure the asset and go from there? A lot of times, I guess I feel like right now the real estate, they just don't really have any motivation to even talk about it, and I find that kind of strange.
Yeah. Yep. 67% the real estate is free and clear. Their motivation is on all the other things that they have, especially if the real estate's free and clear or very easily covered by the estate's bank balance. Their motivation is on other things. Now, if they've never known that there were services that existed that helped with the other things and they weren't looking for it, they're very unlikely to take an appointment right away. Okay. So the change in thinking that I want you to do, and this is going to require a little bit of a re-strategizing for you, but the change in thinking is instead of getting them to say, come to the house, I want you to get them to agree to something much smaller. Those of you that have been, and it's been a while since I talked about this Saturday Night Live skit, but I used to talk about an SNL skit from back in the 90s in one of the classes that I taught, and it was called The Hurley Boy. And I've shown it. I quit showing it in my classes because nobody thought it was funny except for me. Okay, I guess I'm just really weird. But the Hurley Boy was an Adam Sandler and Chris Farley skit. And Adam Sandler is a weird house sitting person, and he's trying to convince this family to let him come house sit their house. So he says, "Hey, let me bring in your mail. You're going to be out of town," and he gets a yes. And then he goes, "Hey, I'm already bringing your mail in. Let me water the plants." And he gets a yes. And he goes, "Hey, since I'm watering the plants, let me stay at your house. Nobody's going to be there." And it awkwardly the whole time he gets a yes. And he goes, "Hey, since I'm staying in the house, let me sleep in your bed." All right, let me sleep in your bed. I'll sleep in the same position you will, and I'll make the bed up. You'll never know I was there. And he gets a yes. And then he goes, "Don't make me make the bed." Okay. And so the idea is he gets small little incremental agreements. When I'm doing a conversation with a seller, as I'm looking, rather than explain a whole bunch of things that I'm doing, I'll find a
Yeah.
place to explain a bunch of things when it's appropriate. But rather than that, I'm simply looking for how do I set them up to agree with this small thing? And sometimes I'm getting them to agree to something that on the face of it looks bad for me. Why? They don't know me and they want to resist me. So sometimes I get them to agree that yes, I don't need you. I have it covered. Sometimes I get them to agree that yes, you're right, we haven't thought about the real estate yet.
And
Those are
it's
things that to
going
the
to be close to
consumer
the same
they
as
think,
the
and
I'm
hold on one
figuring,
second.
but the one I'm not seeing.
Try to figure out where the sound's coming from.
It's from Jenny.
Jenny. All right, one second. There we go. Okay. So the consumer, they think that they're holding me at bay. I'm just getting to this next little thing that I wanted them to agree with. Why? Not because it's the perfect scenario, it's the perfect thing for them to say, but I know they were going to say it anyway. And so I kind of set them up to feel like they have some power while still moving them toward my end goal. So I want you to bring real estate up in your calls. I like the fact that you avoid it for a long time. I do too. I want you to bring it up, but when you bring it up, I want you to give them all the power to say, "Hey, we haven't even thought about that yet." Bait them into saying that they haven't thought about it yet.
Okay.
Okay. And then you want them to commit that if they do think about it, that you can make an offer.
Okay.
Okay. So not now, but later.
Yeah.
If we do decide, yes, you can bring an offer. That's the biggest thing. I need that commitment because that leads to other things.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Because I think the best way sometimes is instead of explaining all this services, because in the beginning, I was trying to explain too much and we do everything. And I really do have a great team of people behind me, but I realized that they don't know me from Adam. They really just want to get you off the phone as quickly as possible. But when we hit them with questions, like it's a good first question. It's like, what is the biggest problem you're going through? Well, they'll divulge a lot of information right there. So that's always great. But then I always feel like, what is the next question I could ask them,
Mm-hmm.
and keep them talking. And sometimes that's where I don't, from an experience, like, because I don't know all the pains points that they're going through. So I'm just trying to figure out, I just want to keep providing value so I can eventually lead up to that real estate question.
Mm-hmm. So give me an example of what they say. Don't go into a full long role play on
Yeah.
this, but an example of what they say when you say what's the biggest pain point?
A lot of them, it's like bank account information, getting access to certain bank accounts, and they're
Mm-hmm.
having trouble with the bank verifying who they say they are. Or there might be a car. For the court was even the other day. Two people said that the court said that there's an ownership of a title of vehicle and needed to bring proof of ownership, and they're like, there is no vehicle. My mom never drove a car. So they're going through things like that. I can't really help in that department other than some of them don't have an attorney. And so I'll give them access to my attorney. I said, hey, this is my attorney's cell phone number. He gives permission for you to give him a call. He'll give you some free advice. And that way, they have some, just something of value to give them, right? But when I get back to the real estate side of things, I am surprised sometimes that there is no real estate involved as many, because I think the statistic is supposed to be about 80%. I don't really haven't found that yet, but um, I think there is real estate involved. It's like, well, the attorney's handling it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so you just hit me with a couple of things that I haven't experienced in my market. So if I ask, is what's the biggest challenge? Some of those challenges, some of those, unfortunately, they've got to work through a few of them on their own. Okay. What I was hoping is that you'd give me some examples of things that I knew that I either could directly help with or had someone that could directly help with. And if they give that, and I'll come back to where the answers that they're giving you. So let's pretend that they actually say, "Hey, we're struggling with X, Y, or Z," and you either know that that's something you can help with or have someone. I might ask, have you looked into different resources that can help you with that? No, I can't. No, I have not. If I gave those to you, would you want those? Probably yes. So, have you looked into something that can help with that? Excuse me. Get them to say no. Get them to say no. Not sure where that came from. Um, and then if I gave you some resources, would you want those? I think that that's one of those types of questions that's really hard to say no to. So I'm sure that there's going to be the occasional person that just wants to say no, but most people would say yes. Now, they're hitting you with things that, I mean, what are you going to do? Go through the house and look for the title to a car? No. So that's unfortunately that's something that they're just going to have to dig through. Um, there's not direct help from you. Now, for me, after I've described some of the things, briefly described some of the things that I help with, and I'm really brief on that. Um, I'm trying to get them to say that I don't. I'm trying to get them to kind of hold me off. You're trying to get them to open up. I'm trying to get them to hold off because the sooner I can get them to say they don't need what I just offered, the faster for me and my strategy I can get to real estate.
Yeah, you don't want to get in the weeds of you too much stuff going on.
So I would imagine you're building some amazing rapport. You're probably building rapport that I'm not going to build on the phone with your approach.
Yeah. I mean, spent 45 minutes the other day with the guy, and he's got a $2 million house to sell, and he's got another $1 million house he wants to buy. So it's like it wasn't all for naught. Like there's
Yeah.
good leads like that in there just because I opened them up and we had a long conversation. But I'm like you, like I'm approaching this because I want to be an investor. I just want opportunities to invest in real estate. So I got to get in front of, getting some houses.
Yeah. Which means you're going to have to shift to real estate. And for me, the perfect approach to shifting to real estate is kind of that Columbo approach. It's toward the end, you're closing the call out. I want to tease the end of the call. And then I find that the perfect way to transition for me is, hey, before I jump off, um, instead of before I let you go, or hey, one more thing. I've heard a lot of people do that. I think if you do it, no offense, I think it's tacky. I think it's easy to read through. So for me, I say, hey, before I jump off. And I find that that's an amazing transition. And then I future pace. So for those of you that don't know what future pacing is, you're setting the question up, but you're setting it up as though they're answering for the future, not today. All right. If you set it up as though they're answering from today, they're going to lie. They're going to resist. But if you set it up like they're answering in the future, they'll usually be a little bit more forthcoming. So, hey, once probate's over, I know it's going to be a while. Is the house something that you guys are kind of thinking about selling, or is it too early to tell? All right, so set it up in the future. If I said, "Hey, before I let you go, are you guys going to list the house next week, or do you want to hold off?" It's like, "Oh no, 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 we're going to hold off." Why? Because it's like, "Oh man, you're closing this trap, and we feel this trap closing." So for me, when I do ask that question, it's always before I jump off. Hey, once probate's over, I know it's going to be a while. So I'm getting them to feel like they're answering for way down the road. Um, then make sure that you're giving them two options. Too early to tell, thinking about selling. We don't give them the option of keeping. Why? Because they'll probably take it. Again, you're a stranger on the phone. So too early to tell. That's what most are going to say. And now you just get a commitment. Hey, if at any point that you did decide to sell, I know it's going to be a while. If at some point you did decide to sell, I think there maybe might be a chance I could bring you an offer. No. What are they going to say? No. Of course they're going to say yes. Yeah, you're not trying to push me for today. All right, listen, sending you some information. I'll just slip a little value in there. That way you guys can talk about it. Is that okay? Yeah. Give me a couple of days. I'm going to drive by the neighborhood. Just kind of get a quick look so that I know the basics of what the neighborhood values are. Is that okay? What are they going to say there? No, that's not okay. I don't imagine you're going to be around sometime in the next week or two. I could stop by for 5 minutes. Are you? Right. That that's where your appointments are going to come. And they're not full-blown appointments, but they're FaceTime. So I think that your goal should probably be to work your way into some FaceTime versus an appointment. They don't want an appointment. So you get them to agree to things that are preliminary, that the next logical step is, if you're going to be around sometime in the next week or two, could I stop by for 5 minutes just so I know how to put X, Y, or Z together? So start treating your calls in baby chunks, baby steps. So my next goal is to get them to say, "Yes, send me some information." My next goal is to get them to give me an email. My next
Yeah.
goal is to get them to say, I don't know about the house.
And can you prime them? Like, I think a lot of times, just because I sell these a lot for my attorney, and we usually get these homes that are in a lot of deferred maintenance, a lot of problems with them, which is great. But I would tell them like, hey, we buy these homes in all its glory. I know it's the one thing that we find the most stressful is figuring out, how to trash out a home, how to fix maintenance, and I don't want you to worry about that. I just want to go by and see the home in all of its glory, and that way, in the future, when you just decide to sell, um, you know, I can make a fair market value offer to you, not fair market value, but I can give you, a cash offer, and we can, you don't have to do anything. And I think that takes a lot of stress off their shoulders, but I didn't know in your experience if that's explaining too much on the phone.
Um, Potentially you're explaining something that they don't need explained. And
Hmm.
by that, and I say potentially because I don't know in that scenario, I don't know what maybe led to you saying that. Um, what I felt when you said that is that you didn't know the condition yet. Now, maybe you do. Maybe they already told you, yeah, it's in rough condition. If they did, you're great. Otherwise, I'm gonna get them to give me some feedback first. I'm
Hmm.
gonna say, hey, is your house in great shape, or do you think it needs a little bit of work? A little bit of work. Okay, could I tell you how I normally function? And that's another big thing is I like to, before I explain anything, I like to ask for permission.
Yeah.
Okay, before I explain anything. Now, if I explain something for 2 minutes and then we talk and then I'm about to explain something else, I ask for permission again. Do you think I could tell you about this? Would it be all right if I explained that? Would it be okay if I told you this? So anytime I'm going to go into a longer explanation of something, I'm getting their buy-in, their permission. But a lot of this is going to depend on what they previously told you. Okay. Um, I think that your explanation was fine. I just don't know what came before it. And then the last thing is you need to, not the last thing, but before I jump off of that point, you need to end any explanation, whether it's a sentence or a paragraph. Every explanation needs to end with a question. So um, you're getting them to re-engage in the conversation with the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, just last question, because Ron over here in the chat, I can see this same question I have. So Ron asked, can't the PR also sell before probate is actually over? And the only reason, what I would say is, yes, it can if it's how it's deeded, if there's rights of survivorship or, death on transfer, transfer upon death, you could sell it theoretically before probate's over. And the one thing, and I'm prospecting, I'm not asking because I asked them, I think I asked it in the wrong way. I usually say, is there real estate being sold through probate? And they will just say no, but I did that might means it might not be going through probate, but yes, there's
Right.
real estate. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
dummy, like you need to ask them, just get rid of the word probate and just ask them, is the family going to, they're going to sell the home, or is it too early to ask? And that way, it doesn't matter if it's going through probate. We can ask that question next. Sometimes I ask that question first through probate, which in their mind means no, it's owned free and clear, and or I mean, it's it's already been transferred.
Yeah.
So that was the wrong question.
Yeah. I like to say in the estate. So I like to
Okay.
say, hey, was there any real estate involved with the estate? So not probate, because you're right. There are a lot of people are going to be sticklers on the in probate, and you just gave them a reason to say no, no real
Yep.
estate when they have three properties. Um, and mostly to Ron's question, in close to 99% of cases, real estate is sold. Even if it's in probate, real estate can be sold before probate's over. Okay. There are some exceptions. Some states have a lot of exceptions, some have almost no exceptions, but real estate can generally be sold before probate it closes. When I ask a consumer once real estate or once probate closes, is the house something that you're going to sell? When I do that, it's not because they have to wait for probate. It's because I want them answering something that they feel like has no immediate consequences to the conversation. I do not want the person to feel like there's an immediate trap that I'm setting them up for. Okay. Oliver, you said something just a little bit ago that I want to try to avoid a little bit. You said, when you sell. And as part of what you said, I want to avoid certain things like that, especially with someone that you're not face to face with, that it's kind of an initial cold conversation. Um, someone just did it to me earlier today, trying to sell me on some leads. When you buy today, what I do? No, I don't know if I'm going to buy. I immediately put some distance between me and him. Okay. So I want to make sure that you're not causing people to intentionally think about putting space between you. So I would rather, when I'm asking these questions and getting information I need, I'd much rather set it up like, hey, this is way off in the future. I can shorten that time frame a lot as the conversation goes on. So I know it's going to take, it usually takes about a year. I know it'll be a while. Once probate's over and you get through all this, is the house something that you guys might sell, or is it just too early to tell? Okay. They don't feel bad about answering me at all because they don't think that there's any consequences. And let me tell you something, there are absolutely consequences to the answer that they give me, because the consequences are I'm about to get an appointment with them. They just they do not feel it at all when they're answering the question. So I want to make sure that as you're going through your conversation that you're not giving someone any feeling like I need to distance myself from where you're going. They need to think where you're going doesn't have anything that they're going to have to resist you on today. All right. So give them plenty of ways to hold you at bay without killing the relationship. So killing the relationship, they hold you at bay by saying, "No, I'm never going to sell." That kills everything that you want to do. "I'm never going to need your help." That kills everything that you want to do. So I give them the way to resist and to keep me at bay, without letting them tip over into that, this conversation's over. So, yeah, we haven't decided yet. Yeah, I still have to talk to my family. No, I think we're all set for now. So when I say, "Hey, do you guys need anything, or do you have things covered for now?" We have things covered for now. So I'm always trying to give them that ability to hold me off without shutting me down.
Cool. And
Okay.
I guess you're just getting their permission to follow up, because they're definitely going to say, "We've got everything handled for now." Great. I'm glad you do. Looks like you're taking the right steps. I'm going to follow back up with you in 3 to 6 months, because what we have found is there's some things that are in your blind spots. And I just want to make sure, when those things come up, you're still able to find a solution. Right? Is that a good, or no?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. That's not the way I do it. You're
Okay.
using a feel felt found approach.
Yeah.
I can't argue with it. I like it conceptually. I like it. Okay. Those that don't know the feel felt found approach, go look it up. Oliver's using it really well. So for me, I always want that person to think that they're going to be in control of our future interaction. So for me, I tell you what, let me send you some resources. I want you to save them. If anything ever comes up that you need, you call me. Is that fair? So you're going, "Hey, I'll call you in 3 or 6 months." It feels good. I mean, it feels okay. And they're probably not saying no, but I think they can say no. "No, don't worry about it." Okay. They can say that. They're probably not, but they can. What's worse is if you guys saw in my contacts the number of people that I had programmed in do not answer. Oh, you'd be like, yeah. If I don't want someone to know that they're blocked, I just program don't answer. All right. So the problem is I'm going to call you in 2 months. Okay. And then they go and they're like, "Don't take this guy's call anymore." So when we jump off the phone, I want them to think that our future interaction is on them and up to them. It's not. I'm absolutely going to follow up. 100%. I just don't need to trigger them into going in or saying no, don't do that. That's worst. Or I'd almost rather someone say no, don't call me than yeah, okay, that's fine, and then program me in because then I got to chase them and I have no idea why they're not answering, and that's happened to all of us. So for me, it's always I tell you what, I'm gonna send you some resources. I want you to have things that you can send them tangible in the mail. In the mail, you can get an email too, and also send email, but there needs to be something tangible. And then I'm going to send this to you, so you don't have to say it quite
Don't have
as
to ask permission. Yeah.
emphatically as I do. But the idea is I'm going to do this, and you can call me if you need anything. And then the tie down is that fair? Is that fair? When I ask someone, is that fair? No one ever, ever, ever says no. I'm not saying, can I mail you? No. I'm saying, I'm going to mail you, and then you can call me if anything comes up. Is that fair? Yep. Now I know that they're probably going to hear from me in a couple of weeks. They don't need to know. All right. So, um, everybody's a little different. I'm going to, uh, so I don't have everyone. By the way, I only see about five Zoom squares on my screen. Matthew, you're waving, but I can't tell if it's at me. I could see you. If it was at me, I almost missed it.
No, it was at you. One of the Oliver, one of the questions that you asked was, is it okay to sell it outside of probate? And you have to be very careful about this. We've had a real estate broker in Harnett County do that and went to jail because they sold it before the executor was named.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
And
oh,
they had to use the real estate in order to pay off all the debts.
Mm, yeah.
You have to be extremely careful of doing that.
Yep.
okay.
They don't
Um,
mess around in North Carolina with that
I
stuff. So.
I better go ahead and make sure that I piggyback on that clarification that Matthew just gave. In most areas, you can sell houses before probate is closed. So before the estate closes, the house can be sold if the probate proceeds, if the house proceeds stay in the estate. There are some exceptions, not a lot. Matthew added that clarity. I think that's really important, and I see that a lot. How many of you ever have ever gone into maybe your MLS and you see an estate property that's been under contract for 5 months? Okay. If you look, you probably see it. And the reason is most likely because they listed a house, they sold it, they almost sold it, they got a buyer, they went to the title company or the attorney and they got all the way through to closing, and the attorney went, wait a minute, you can't close this. This is supposed to be in probate. All right, so that kind of thing happens all the time. You've got to make sure that probate's open, that there's direct court approval and a process with an executor appointed. Really good, Matthew.
Yeah,
Yes.
and Matthew, to your point, I mean, I even got in a situation where the attorney told me, he said, this can be sold, does not have to go through probate. I got the house in contract. We were the day before closing. I called the attorney just to thank him for the referral. And he goes, wait a second, you're selling that? I said, yeah, you told me I could sell it. He goes, he was so scatterbrained. He's like, hold off. It has to go through the court. And thank God I called him, right? But and that kind of for me from there on told me, and he honestly, he's not even really clear when he's always plays it, he closes it through probate, but it's
Yeah,
he,
you get situations like that, and you also get the crazy sister who's after the money
yeah,
before the executor's named. So you don't want yeah, you don't want the crazy sister to do that because all of you get in trouble.
yeah,
So it's a really interesting total side note, but this, Matthew, you're going to like this. We had someone in Durham County recently who said, hey, I have one half of the inheritance from this estate. My stepsister has a quarter. My stepbrother has a quarter. I don't think it's fair that combined they get half. If you're going to buy this property, you're going to give me $25,000 under the table. Okay. So cut them. So you'd be surprised what some family members will do to each other in probate, and it's not always super ethical. So be aware of that. That has nothing to do. I want you guys to just know you'll see a lot of different scenarios, but that one was that was a fun one that just popped up a couple of months ago. All
In
right.
Miami, you can actually sell the property before the probate is over.
Oh yeah. You can almost always sell the house before probate is over. And
Yes,
I'm very careful to say almost.
almost, yeah. But here you can.
Almost. But it has to be opened. Probate has to be open, and the real estate, if it's supposed to be in probate, has to be named as an asset in probate.
Yes,
And when it
yes.
sells, the money can't go to anyone except for the estate. It's got to hang out in the estate's bank account until probate's over.
Yeah, I think the
Um,
key is to use a lawyer that knows what they're doing.
yeah, that's a little bit important to
Yes.
have a lawyer that knows what's going on. Cool. Okay. It's an hour's gone by, well, almost, since I had some technical difficulties, but I really appreciate you guys being here. Next week, same time, 2 o'clock Eastern time, every single Tuesday, noon. If you're out west on the Pacific Coast, we're here on the same Zoom link. If you're listening after the fact and you want to join live and ask some questions, jump over to probatemastery.com and sign up for the free weekly coaching call. We'll invite you guys next week. I want some of you all to show up with your questions. Thank you so much, Oliver, for hanging out and asking really good questions. Thanks, Melanie, for contributing. I think most of you all know that I don't like talking to just a bunch of Zoom squares where everybody's quiet. I highly value interaction, questions, people to challenge me. Um, Matthew, thanks for contributing. If I'm missing anyone, it's unintentional. So thank you guys so much. I want you all back here next Tuesday. We'll see you then. And yeah, appreciate you guys. Happy New Year.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.